interface. That is another most commonly used asked interview question. Are you clear about how to write an interface?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So then, okay. Yesterday we were here, right? We were actually talking about string buffer and string, and I asked about one of the exercises. And so actually my question was something around this, right? This part, okay, we found two different solutions,
Yeah.
but this is not the original problem I wanted to ask. I want to ask a little variation in it. But ultimately, the solution that I wanted is the one we tried here a lot. But this is the thing I wanted to mention. Like string tokenizer was like easiest path, easiest route. But in strings, if I restrict you guys, like here we used only the methods that we want. But if I restrict you guys not to use substring also, like only method that you are going to use in string class is char at and equals, not even substring. So that's the question I generally ask, like how do you do that if you are not using substring also? There is no availability of substring for you. All the
Okay.
methods that you can use in string class are char at and equals. Okay, that makes it little
Okay.
more complex, but you guys can handle it. Try it out and let me know if you have any questions then. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, fine. So let's see what it is all about. Okay, so use the string buffer. This is incorrect. Where the string values constantly change because okay, okay, because a new string object is created for this, we know it already. So there are some lab sessions like how to write which of the following variable names are invalid and why. Can anybody say which of the variable names are invalid?
Uh, Variable name should not start with ampersand.
You got to be closer to the mic. Tej, I cannot hear you.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The variable name should not start with ampersand sign.
Yeah. Otherwise, it takes it as a memory location or something. So that's illegal. Good.
A dot should not be there.
Okay.
First dot name
Mm-hmm.
and the hyphen between column and total.
Yeah. Yeah. And how about
Float that it is a
yeah?
key.
It is
Float and
already a
double
keyword. Double is already a keyword.
keyword.
Some space total. Even that this will be
Space is not allowed.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
A row space total,
yeah.
that is also.
And this one third row that also doesn't
Yeah.
allow probably, right?
Yes.
Number beginning with a
Numbers
number.
should not start with a number.
Yeah. That's the thing I want to enforce. So yeah, and this is another thing called Floyd's triangle. Like you just sum up like
Mm.
yeah, it's like 1 plus 1. Like you're going to sum up. Somebody's pinging. One second.
Yeah. Brinda just joined.
Okay, yeah. Okay, let me actually mute. Probably that's one. Yeah. Okay. So good morning. So Brinda just joined as well to catch you up. We just discussed about um, one variation I want from the solution where I generally ask this question like instead of using this um, I was using substring also, right? I didn't want to use substring also. Okay, how do you achieve that even without using substring? That's the question I generally ask. Like if we come up with this solution, what you only have access to char at and substring equals, nothing else. So how do you come up with this solution? That's an exercise for you guys. Then let's move on. Like other thing we were talking about was this lab session. Try it out, and there is a sample probably available to you guys in the access in the folder that I sent. So try it out. How exactly we are printing out various numbers within double nested loops. Then this is one other thing. Like write the segment of the program that creates the arrays as follows. Like somebody asked me how to create a multi-dimensional array. So give me more examples, right? Yeah, this is one of the example. How are you going to print it out? Something like this. So you got to mock a multi-dimensional array. Um, should be simple. If you have questions, let me know. Okay. Then another thing is, yeah, the annual examination results of 5 students are tabulated as follows. Write the main method in order to determine the following. Like find out the total marks obtained by each student. So if you have 10 students, how can you find 5 students? How can you find out total marks? The highest marks in each subject and roll number of the student who secured it. So you got to create the data structure for it. Like okay, you only know arrays right now. We don't know array list and all because we did not cover that. So you're going to do it using only the arrays. Okay, arrays, and you know the student object has like int roll number, string name, subject 1, subject 2, subject 3. Okay, so how are you going to sum those up and achieve these two, like highest in each subject? Like how can you find out the highest in each subject and stuff like that? Another one is consider a college running 4 departments. Okay? Capture the marks of each student of any given department. Okay? So this is one other thing. Before even coding it, we want to talk about how to design it. Okay, how to design it. So how are we designing it? Here, marks will be an interface or a class. Okay, and that arts marks and science marks extends those class marks, and within that, this is all inheritance, right? Within that, we have HEC, CEC, and science marks. We have MPC marks and BPC marks. Okay, so marks, arts marks, and science marks and science marks can all be abstract classes. These three, okay, and these are actually the concrete classes, okay, because the subjects vary and how they calculate the percentage may vary, right? Because for MPC they have practicals, but arts they don't have practicals. So the weightage, how you want to derive the percentage can be different. Okay. In general, I want to give an example. Like okay, these all can be abstract classes. These all can be um, concrete classes, or if you don't want anybody to extend these classes anymore, because there is no another division that we want to do unless you want to go down and say maths marks, science, physics marks, and all that individually. So other than if you don't want to do that, then these are all will be final classes, or safely we can assume these as concrete classes. Okay, then this is one solution. You guys can think about it. Like each of these problems can have more than one solution. So please try it out and let me know if you have any questions. Okay, are you guys practicing it all? Just a question. By the way, you guys are all muted. If you want, please chat. And any questions are you guys running into? Hmm, okay, fine. Let's move on. Argument passing in Java. So we have something called call by value and call by reference. What is it all about? Let's see that first. Call by value. Values passed and modifications made in the method are local to that method. That means if I'm passing a value in the method argument like int 1000, if like int x, and I change the value of x within that, it's like local to that method. It will not go outside the method. And in the same way, call by reference, values passed and modifications made within the method get carried back to the invoking method. Okay. So this is very important. People ask like a general interview question is what is Java? What does Java support? Whether it is call by value or call by reference. So can anybody talk about it? Like probably all of you worked or worked before or studied Java before, right? So what does Java support? Call by value or call by reference?
Call by value?
Yeah, that's right. But I pass an object to a method, okay? But if I modify something within that method, I get the values back, modified values back. So if it is call by value, why does that happen? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're right,
Yeah.
absolutely right. The answer is call by value. But if somebody asks you, okay, call by value is all fine, but if you pass an object, okay, object reference variable to a method and modify value within that method, wouldn't you get the value modified? Like this is what I'm referring to. Okay? Let me see. Do I already have anything that states about it? Okay. Okay. This is the thing I was referring to, Rini. So okay. Somebody was saying, let me see. Okay, what do you want me to repeat? Actually, I do not see your chats. Can you speak up? Teja, you had a question, right?
Uh, uh, I just answered the question below.
Okay. Okay. So this was the thing, okay? This was the thing. If it is call by value, these things should not change, right? Then is it a call
Yes.
by reference?
No, the values will change because the reference is referring to the
Same thing, yeah.
same
But
thing.
okay, that is right. That's why value is changing. That is also correct. But the thing is, then is it passing the references like EMP? We are passing the EMP, right?
Yes.
We are passing same reference. Fine. So that means is it supporting call by reference? No. The thing is,
No.
it is passing the copy
Value.
of the
Copy.
EMP. Yeah.
Reference.
But the copy is also referring to the same memory location. But don't get confused with this kind of stuff and say like Java supports call by reference. Because one person asked me, I was always under the impression, oh, okay, Java is called by value. Then he's like, oh, what are you going to talk about this? So I didn't. I want to share that experience with you guys. But if we would have done something like this, also changes,
New,
right?
mm, no, the new employee is created.
Say that again. You guys have to be a little louder if you're
Uh,
saying something.
the value will not change.
Yeah. If I return it and reset it, then it will change, right? If I return EMP,
Yes, then it will change.
yeah, then it will change. Okay. Yeah, just yeah, people may give various combinations of it. Yeah. Okay. So, but no matter what, Java still supports call by value. Okay. Okay. So what did we see here? Call by value. Values passed and modifications made in the method are local to that method. Call by reference. Values passed and modifications made within the method get carried back to the invoking object. So if you look at the exact definition, this is what we did, but it is still not call by reference because copy of that reference variable will be passed. It's not the original object. Fine. Final keyword on the class. If you apply final on a class, nobody can change the state of the class. It cannot be subclassed. An abstract class cannot be final. We discussed this yesterday. Remember this. Then pass command line arguments. You guys were trying all these, right? So did we discuss command line arguments? Do you know how to pass command line arguments?
When executing that
Yeah,
using Java
I
command,
think we
we
did
need to
for
pass
Hello
this.
World itself. I think, right? Let's see.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you are you guys comfortable with command line arguments, or you want me to state something about it? Like any command line argument that you're passing is part of string args, and it starts with zeroth index because it's an array. And if you were to pass something to it through Eclipse, if you want, I can just show you. This is where you're going to set. Okay. This is where you are going to set, not here. This is virtual machine arguments, but here program arguments you're going to command line arguments you're going to pass it here. Yeah, I think this is the same example we took the other day as well. Just want to reinforce. And this gets really helpful when you are writing some console based bad jobs. You want to restrict that bad job to be working only from certain user ID to certain user ID. Those kind of stuff you're going to do using using this one. Let me actually rerun it now. Where did I put here? So you can change anything, and it starts from 0. And if you try to access 1 and you just passed one parameter, you're going to get array index out of bound, as you guys know already, right? Moving on. Okay. Significance of an object class. What is an object class? Anything in Java is an instance of an object class. Okay. So that means object class. Object class is actually the parent of everything. Okay. And the methods that we generally inherit and override from object class are called clone, finalize, and hash code. Okay. Clone is a method that you are going to override, and yesterday I was talking about singleton pattern, right? To avoid singleton object to be duplicated or cloned, we have to override clone and throw an exception called clone not supported. Okay, that's when we'll talk about exceptions shortly, but yeah, that's when actually you will prevent cloning, and that completes singleton pattern. Okay, good. And then finalize method. Finalize method is a method that gets invoked when you say system, like, okay, system.gc. Okay, you're saying like please invoke garbage collection. Fine, it invokes it at its own convenience, right? It will not get invoked immediately. That's the thing we discussed, right? So when it invoked, that's when it invokes the finalize method. That is the housekeeping method for us. Okay, any resources we want to set to null, or leave any resources, all that stuff happens in the finalize method. Then hash code. Hash code is nothing but the like unique code that we want to generate for a particular object. Okay, what is this hash code thing all about? All right, fine. So what we are trying to do here is, if two objects are equal, okay, two objects are equal, their hash codes should be equal. Okay, and if two hash codes are equal, that doesn't mean that those objects are equal. Okay, say for example, employee, I have an employee object, I just have employee number, I just have an employee name, first and last name. Okay, we have a bunch of Ravis in our company. Okay, so if I'm considering only employee first name as a first name as an object, like attribute in an object, if I were to generate a hash code based off a first name, two Ravis can have the same hash code. And if my company says, okay, you both are two, but our hash code says only one, and we are going to pay salary only for one person, we don't like it, right? We need some other distinction, right? So that's how we're going to distinguish, depending on the use case, between two customized objects. Here we are considering about employee object. How are we going to distinguish between each of us? Though our first name is same, though our last name is same, because I have a cousin who has exact my name, first and last name. So in US we both are equal, but we have a unique distinction if we are considering US, that's the SSN, right? In the same way, if both of us are working for the same company, what are we going to do? We're going to identify two employees by employee ID, and when we say employee dot equals, like employee 1 dot equals employee 2, we check their employee IDs and distinguish, like, oh, okay, these two are different. That's how we override equals method, and also hash code method. When you override equals, you have to override hash code as well. Okay, you have to override hash code as well. That's when both will be in sync. Okay, so these are the methods that are inherited from object class. Fine. So now that we are almost completing OOPS, I want to ask you guys these two questions. Okay, Can a superclass object hold a subclass reference?
Yes.
Yes, that's right. Can others also speak? Brinda, Rini, do you guys think it's yes or no? Give me an example as well.
If animal is a superclass and sheep
You got to be
is a
closer.
subclass.
I cannot hear you.
I mean, animal is a superclass,
Okay.
and if sheep is a subclass,
Yeah.
we can assign to animal sheep object to animal reference.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But the other way around cannot work.
Yes.
Can a subclass object actually if you see my question, can a superclass object hold a subclass reference? This is incorrect. You're seeing do you see my question? This is the confusing part always. See here. Can a superclass object, that means in your case animal object, hold a subclass reference? Okay? That means what I'm trying to say is sheep equals to new animal. Can we do that?
No.
Yeah, that's the thing. First question is that. Okay. Then
Okay.
second one is what you are talking about. Can a subclass object hold a superclass reference? Okay. That is true. That is what you're talking about, like animal equals to uh, new sheep.
Sheep.
Are you guys following?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's the thing. Just pay a little more attention. So that's when you'll see this question. This is most commonly confused questions. Okay. So before we get to inner classes, let's see all the examples that we have are been covered or not. Okay. Including operators. Like I just noticed, like we have some compilation errors. I think I uploaded it in some shared location when I'm downloading it from shared. A bunch of my comments, bunch of my looping stuff are like encoded. Like just semicolon is replaced with something else like that. Okay. I just cleaned up all that stuff, but were you guys facing the same problem or is it just me? I want to check that part. If it is just me, I'm not going to cover this part. But if it is like you guys had the same problem, let me know. Like, were you executing any of these stuff?
I think I am okay with executing
Oh, is it?
from my side. Yeah.
Oh, you did not have any problems. Okay, cool. It's good to know. So yeah, if you guys want me to cover, I think while loop, all these examples are there. Just see and uh, ask me questions whenever you have any problem in any of these. Okay, fine. If you don't have any other problem, let's move on to inner classes. But before that, are you guys comfortable with talking about constructors, parameterized constructors? What is abstraction? What is inheritance? Class interface? Frankly, it took me a lot of time because I was from non-computer science background when I started. It took me a lot of time to really map it to real world. Now, are you guys comfortable? Like, maybe are you comfortable? Can we move forward to inner classes?
Yes.
Okay. Is that an S for everyone? From everyone?
No, from my side.
No, from whom?
Teja, I said yes.
Oh, you have questions, or you said no for your question?
Uh, I said I am saying yes for me, not for all others.
Yeah, yeah, I know that. I'm just making. Everybody's okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's briefly see hash code example. Okay, I think I have an example here. See, like what we are trying to do is in the hash code. Let's see. Okay, so we are creating some object. Fine, and we have a hash code example object. Fine, and now what we did in this hash code example object dot hash code, right? That's the thing we want to see. So we're just getting the hash code because by this time we did not override anything within this. Okay, default implementation when we are just calling that it has like it is part of object class, right? So it has the hash code method. Fine. Then we are calling some other object called no such element exception. Anything is a class, right? We can instantiate anything, any exception class, anything. So we are instantiating an integer object and we are getting the hash code out of it. All these objects. Now in this particular class, like hash code example 2, we have overridden hash code to return always 100. That means default hash code would have given us something else, but when we are doing int hash code from this class, we have overridden to always return as 100. This is risky, right? Yeah, let's see. Because there is always a possibility that it's going to return any two hash code example 2 objects as equal, because there is a risk if you don't override equals method but just override hash code method. Okay, this can introduce problems. But if you override equals and hash code, you may not have problems. Okay? Then, so hash map example. Yeah, let's see. So what are we trying to do here? We are trying to create a hash table, hash map, and we're trying to put all the social security numbers of the people, and then we have we have social security number and people. So we are trying to map first so assistant to first person, second assistant to second person. So by the end of it we have the key value pairs. We'll talk about collections later, but just think of it like some dictionary. Okay, you have a SSN number and you know who this SSN number is, it corresponds to at the end of this. Okay, then what we are trying to do is we're trying to check contains, okay, a particular random SSN number. We took this one, we're trying to see, okay, whether it exists or not. Okay, if it exists, it is mapped to that one. Otherwise, it is not mapped. Okay. What if the key did not map in the key in the table? Okay. So if it is not mapped, so this one we see it is there, but 555 does not exist, right? So we are looking for 555, and what happens here? It is mapped to. It is not mapped. We know definitely this is going to be returned, right? But let's see why we want to see this example in the first place. The reason being, um, the reason being this table contains key is there, right? This contains key method actually executes the equals. I was talking about employee object, right? Rather than all this, if I have two people as name Ravi, um, and if I don't have like SSN mapped, okay, SSN mapped, and I'm looking at by my first name as the key, uh, any two objects that I'm considering, if I say like contains key, okay, contains key, it is going to internally execute equals. That means, well, what it is going to do is, okay, the key that I passed, it tries to compare it with two people, right? It is going to compare it with employee first name, okay, because in the equals method, that is what I mentioned. Okay, let me not confuse you guys with this example. Probably I'll write it one right now. I think that helps than this one. Right. Okay, here. We have something like that already today, right? So if I did not override anything, all the default methods apply, right? So what happens? Okay, so what happens with this? Can you guys talk about it? Like, if I say employee one equals employee two, will it go inside this? I did not override anything yet. Any thoughts? Default doesn't look at any of the first name or last name. Default looks at just, just the
Difference.
object IDs or something like that. Okay, because both are different objects. Okay, both are different objects, so yeah, it said not equal here because it's not looking at its value yet. It doesn't know which value to look at. Let me put it that way. Okay, what happens now? What happens now?
Equal.
Are you guys with me here?
Yes, it will print equal.
Yeah, it will print equal is my thought as well. Okay, so if both are referring to the same object, then only it will show equals. Otherwise, it will not show equal. But which is incorrect, right? It's not correct
Mm.
behavior. You can have two different people, but if their content of it is same, that's what we want them to treat it as equal. So now we want to customize it, right? So that's when we start writing these methods like override and implement methods. And which one we want to override? Hash
Equal.
code equals. Okay. And what are we going to do here? Let's see. I'm thinking we should have two instances. We want to override equals. Right? Okay. So all we want to say is this dot first name both the first names are equal, that's when we want to make it as equal. So when equals is invoked, which one is the target, right? Okay. Okay. So what does it say? The method should return a result boolean. Okay. I could have just done this. Okay. Fine. Hash code. You want to override hash code as well when you write override this. Some unique number. Okay. We want to get some unique number. Just creating it for the heck of it. Okay. Because system.nano time can also cause problems if it is really fast. But for our example, it's okay. So whatever hash code that comes out of it, or I can just say like this, some prime number. This dot first name dot hash code times 31. Okay. Okay. So let's see it now. Idea is now it should say these two are equal, right? Are you guys following me?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So this is our expectation. Like if somebody asks you why you have to override equals, probably you got to go in these lines. Like if you want to say like if you did not override it, it will go with the default behavior and two objects. If they are not same objects, it is referring to. It may throw like they are not equal. But ideally, in the business scenarios, you may have two objects are equal. You want to compare it and you want to override specifically to see the attributes that you want to compare and say they are equal or not, right? So that's the thing. Okay.
Ravi,
Yeah.
can you come on the hash code? Means,
Yeah, I'm here on the hash code.
yeah. Can you explain this? Means, as you said, when we compare one object to another, which has the
Mm-hmm.
same name, that is not coming equal because they are not taking the value, right? So
Mm-hmm.
this hash code means how it is means. Can you just tell me how it's going with the hash code?
Hash code, like, okay. So if you don't override the hash code, but you have written the equals method, what happens is two objects are equal when their hash code is also same. But if you don't do the hash code overriding here, it's going to generate the default hash code. It doesn't know it has to consider first name.
Okay, got you, got you.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why people suggest if you are overriding equals, you are overriding you should override hash code also. Otherwise, it is going with the default behavior and it may end up in trouble. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. Let's move on. Okay. So, what are inner classes? It's nothing but declaring a class within a class as a member such that inner class shares a special relationship with the outer class. Okay. It can even access the private members of the outer class. Okay. So that means it is like a member variable, class within a class, and it can access private members. We all this while we were thinking about we cannot access private members of another class, right? So this deals with that. Let's see how it is. Inner class types, like there are various types of inner classes. Okay, one is class within a class, and a class within a method, and static inner classes, and anonymous inner classes also. Okay, so these are like various forms of inner class. Just know about it. Like you will use it at your convenience. Okay, I don't generally go about writing bunch of inner classes in my design. I just put those outside as a separate component because I want these to be unit testable. Okay, if I cannot unit test these, there is no point in writing these kind of code, right? So I don't generally prefer inner class unless probably anonymous inner class where you don't need to define any class. It's just like a constructor. That's when I use probably anonymous inner class, and occasionally static inner classes, but I don't use I don't prefer much bunch of inner classes. I generally put it outside, spill it outside, make it reusable and all that. But it's a good design to have it inner classes as well. But I don't know. I did not feel the need yet. Okay, let's see. Inner class types. A regular inner class is declared inside the curly braces of another class, but outside any method or other code block. Okay, let's see the inner class examples. Before looking at everything, let's see the structure first. Probably that's when you will be comfortable. Okay, so what is it here? We were writing these kind of classes before, right? What we are doing is there are a bunch of methods, but we are declaring our class outside, right? So that means it is class within a class. Yeah, and we looked at something like this also before, right? This is not an inner class. Don't get confused with this, which is completely outside of the class body, with this one. Okay, okay, I'm talking about everything within a class. Previously we saw having two classes in the same file. That is different. This is within a class. Okay, that's the thing we are talking about right now. You can have a class within a class. Good. Then, so now that you saw the structure, see here, there is a method called public void couter. Okay, public void couter, and it can access the private members of the outer class as well. As per definition, we were able to see it can access the private member of the um, outer class. Okay, so this actually is serving our purpose, right? We want to access private members of the other class, right? Then what? An inner class is a full-fledged member of the enclosing outer class. So it can be marked with an access modifier as well as the abstract or final modifiers. Never both, that we know. Okay, an abstract class must be something. Okay, so an inner class is a full-fledged member of the enclosing outer class. So it can be marked with an access modifier as well as the abstract or final. So it can have anything like any other method that it has, right? So it can have public or it can have any access modifier. Let's see, can we have private? Yeah, see. Do you guys see that? It can be a private as well. What did we learn yesterday? We cannot have a private class, right? But inner class is a member of a outer class, so it can be a private member as well. Okay, no complaints from the compiler. Fine. Then an inner class instance shares a special relationship with an instance of the enclosing class. This relationship gives the inner class access to all of the outer class members, including we studied this already, right? Oh, it's a repetition. Okay. To instantiate an inner class, you must have a reference to an instance of the outer class. To instantiate an inner class, you should say like outer class dot something. Okay, let's see that. No enclosing instance of a test inner is accessible. Must qualify the allocation with an enclosing bracket. Okay. Hmm, instance of, okay, so here now one second, I think I'm doing it wrong. Yes. So here it should be accessible like this: test inner classes dot test inner dot this. Hmm, but it is complaining. That's the thing. The value of local variable my inner is not used. No, that's not the thing that I want to show you guys. Okay, let's see. So test inner, we have seen these private members, but to instantiate it, let me quickly see. To instantiate an inner class, you must have a reference to an instance of the outer class. Oh, okay. So let's do this. Test inner equals to new test inner. All right. Now you can say like test inner dot. Oh, somebody is saying something. No, it's not the way. Okay, let me go to the next slide. Yeah, see here, from the code within the enclosing class, you can instantiate an inner class using only the name of the inner class as follows, like my inner is. From the code outside the enclosing class, instance methods, you can instantiate the inner class only by using both the inner and outer. Yeah, this is what I was trying. I am trying within the inner class, within the out this class, right? So that's why I should be able to say, that's what I was trying, right? I should be able to say my inner, right? I should be able to say new my inner, okay? But it's not letting me create it. No enclosing instance of test inner is accessible. Enclosing instance of test inner is accessible. Must qualify the qualification with an enclosing instance of type. For example, x dot new a, where x is an instance of test inner class. Yeah, okay. Oh, okay, like this. Test equals to okay. Probably this. Okay. See. So your start. You read the comments. Probably you will proceed further. See here. So this is what I want to do, and my inner dot c outer. Okay. So we can execute it now. So the syntax is okay. You are running the test runner, test inner, and from test inner, if you want to instantiate this, you're saying like test dot new, okay, and then you are invoking the method like any other regular class that you are dealing with, okay. But if you have a class outside and you're trying to execute test inner, it's a little bit different syntax. But let's execute this one first, okay. If you are accessing within the outer class an inner class, this is the way to go. But if you're doing it outside, like let's see, like this, okay. So you have the outer class, you have a class, this is the inner class, okay. This is the inner class, uh, okay, and you're creating a inner class object like this, okay. Before do you guys see any difference between what we saw in this one? No, right? Do you guys see any difference? Either I do it this way
Yes.
or this way. There's no difference, right? Everything is same, okay. This is still the same example as we saw, but I want to know a different method, right? Like I want to access it totally from outside that class. Will there be any difference? Let's see that, okay. Okay, accessing inner class from outside the outer class. How can we deal with it? Let's see. So this is the one we are interested in. My inner class, right? Inner classes dot test inner has that. Yeah, that's the one we are interested in. Okay, see here, inner classes. Same again, whether it's outside from this class or inner from this class. Yeah, no difference. Like see here, if you're accessing it outside of the outer class or within the outer class, it's the same, okay. Fine. So you always have to have the instance of an outer class to get to the instance of an inner class. This is called just a normal inner class, which is same as member, like any other method within the outer class. We are defining a class within the outer class, similar to any other method that we have. Okay, like void test. So similar to how we access this guy by creating an instance of this object and invoking this method. Similar to how we deal with it, we are using the same way to even invoke the class. Only difference here is we are actually creating an instance of an outer object and also saying like new, because we need the instance of this guy as well. Okay, are you guys following me? Following?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Then from the code outside the enclosing classes instance methods, you can instantiate the inner class only by using both inner and outer class names, and as a reference to the outer class as follows. This is what we are referring to. Then from code within the inner class, the keyword this holds a reference to the inner class. That's logical, right? Like if you are in the outer class, this means outer class instance. If you are in inner class, this means inner class instance. And to okay, before that, let's talk about this keyword for a second. Um, this keyword is nothing but current instance. Say for example, in my previous example here in a hash code, I said this right here, this dot first name. Okay, so what is the this keyword is, so I may be invoking employee1 dot equals employee2, right? So when I say that, it's going to invoke this method and it is passing only employee2 object, but whoever is invoker of this method is employee1. When I say this, it is referring to this instance. That means current instance. Current instance on whichever this method is invoked is accessible by using a this keyword. Getting my point? Okay. It refers to current instance. That's the reason for equals method, I need not have to pass an object1 as another attribute and say object1 dot first name equals object dot first name. Okay, I could use a keyword which they exposed to say current instance. This keyword. This is very important. Okay, this keyword is very important. Fine. Now getting back to this one. That's why they were talking about, okay, if I'm on this object, when I say this refers to current instance of this object. But when I am on this object, okay, when I'm saying this, it refers to this object. Okay, are we clear so far?
Yes.
Yeah. To reference the outer this precedence, the keyword this with the outer class name as follows. So we say like my outer dot this. That's when it is going to refer to the outer class instance. Fine. So far we saw only the inner class. Okay. How many flavors we have here? Inner class, method local inner class is there, static inner class is there, anonymous inner class is there, right? So far we discussed about inner class. Any questions on just the inner class? Okay, let's move on to method local inner class. A method local inner class is defined within a method of the enclosing class. Okay, so how does it look like? This is method local inner class. We have a class and we have a method by name void do stuff, and within that method we have an inner class. See here. Right, okay, this is called method local inner class. So within a method also you can have a class that is called method local inner class. For the inner class to be used, you must instantiate it, and that instantiation must happen within the same method but after the class definition. That means We are creating the instance of it within the same method. We are defining the class and then we are creating the instance of it. And outside this method, nobody knows about this unless you invoke this method. Okay, it is specific to only the method. A method local inner class cannot use variables declared within the method unless those variables are marked final. That means if I have any method, any variable in here, int x1 equals to 20, I cannot access the variable x1 directly. It has to be marked as final. That's when it will not complain. Okay, so method local inner classes, the variables that we can use should always be marked as final. Then the only modifiers you can apply to a method local inner class are abstract and final, because nobody can extend it outside the method. Okay, so either it can be abstract or final. Who can extend it? If you mark it as abstract, you have to write another class and extend it. Okay, in here itself, not outside the method. Getting my point?
Yes.
Yeah, I have never written I have never written a method local in class in any of my real-time projects. No need. Yeah. Maybe if you look at any of the frameworks open source code, maybe there can be use cases where they use it, but we're application developers, so that's okay. Fine. So we saw these two flavors so far. Without looking at the code, can you define inner class? Can you visualize what did we discuss about inner class? It's just class within a class, similar to any other method, and you can access it by creating an instance of an outer class, and that's when you can get a handle of the inner class to get to instantiate it, right? So that's the inner class. Method local inner class, as the name suggests, it is within a method, and the special rules within that are you can access only the you can create an instance only after the class definition, right? And you can access only the local members of the methods, local member variables of the method, only if they are set with final keyword, right? And another one is the class definition that we create can have only abstract or final. Okay? Then moving to nested inner class. How can you define a nested inner class? Let's see that. What did we say? Static inner class. Sorry, not nested. Static. Everything is nested. Okay. So here, okay, we start from this class, and this class is just what? Nothing, right? It's just defined in here like this. And why is it a static inner class? Method is this. Okay, fine. And then we have this class array alg. Okay, within that array alg we have static inner class like this, just like how you defined your any other static method, right? This is the method and this is another class called static inner class. And what is static? You guys still remember what is static? Are you guys with me?
Yes.
Static is what? You're going to access static. It is class level, right? So that means
Yes.
this class level is nothing but array alg dot pair. You need not have an instance of this class to get an access to pair, okay, because it is a static member of this class. Let's see how are we accessing it in a example. Okay, see here, we are invoking it by calling alg dot pair equals to alg dot So we are able to invoke methods within all which can return pair as an object. Okay, which can construct pair object and return an instance. So that's how we are doing invoking it. So there is going to be a method that is exposed within the outer class that can construct an instance of it. Because this is a static, we don't need to construct an instance, right? But this guy is constructing an instance of it to set various attributes and return it. Okay, and how are we going to do that? By calling the outer class dot. Okay, and you can ask me like, okay, he did all this min max and all this, which is fine, but can I invoke pair constructor directly, right? Even I myself have that, right? Let's say here p1 and new. Yeah, you can also construct it like this. Okay, so what are you trying to do here is you're trying to pass parameters, and you're trying to pass some. Okay, so you can just do a outer class dot inner class, but whereas other places we need to get the instance of an outer class, then dot new instance of the inner class. That's the difference. Okay, it is treated as any other static member of the class. You don't need to create an instance of an outer class. That's the only difference. Okay. Yeah. Let's see what we have to say about static inner class here. Okay, there's nothing about static inner class I mentioned here. I just wanted to show. Okay, let's see. Static nested classes are inner classes marked with static members. A static nested class is not an inner class. It's a top level nested class. Okay. A static nested class is not an inner class. It's a top level nested class. That means a static member of a outer class. Because the nested class is static, it does not share any special relationship with an instance of the outer class. In phase, you don't need an instance of an outer class to instantiate a static nested class. That means there is no special relationship. You cannot access any private members of the outer class and all that. Did we see that? Did we see any private members being invoked? Like I is not being used, right? Here, he used this. And what did we see here? Private member, because any static method within the class can also the private access the private member. That's how it is, right? And
Ravi,
yeah,
hello. We
yeah.
have used alg.I equals to 0 over here.
Say that again.
Private int equals to 0. Again, then double first. What is static pair?
I did not follow your question.
You said we cannot use instance which is declared outside a static class.
Instance? What is it?
You just said that anything which is defined outside the static class, we cannot use it inside the static class, right?
No, I did not say that yet. I did not fully say that yet. What I said
Okay.
was there is no special relationship. We can use it like any other static method. Say this is not different than any other static method within a class, right? I'm just comparing to that.
Okay.
What I'm saying is this int I is there, right? This can be used. It is a private member within a class, right?
Yes.
Yeah. In the same way, just like how any other static member is defined and it can use these variables, this is also using it.
Okay.
Yeah. But this is using it by creating an instance of it. It cannot directly use it. See here. See this example here. Your question is like this, right? This is your question, right?
Yes, Ravi.
Yeah. We cannot do that only way we can do that is because it need not create an instance. It can say like this. Let me,
Okay.
okay, 1 second. So what it is trying to do is it's like static, right? Outer class members, how you are going to access it, in a, think of it like a public static void main method. In public static void main method, how are you going to get the hold of its private members? Like this, right? But the thing is, if you are outside this class, if you define a nested class outside this, even this instance, if you create this instance, you will not be able to access .i. Like, let me see, show you guys what I'm talking about. Okay. Okay. So what I'm trying to say here is, say if you have a private int I equal to 0. Um, okay. Because you are doing this, I think I don't need this one anymore, but let me actually keep it for a little bit. You're able to access I here because it is from the same class, right? Like, it's no different. Even in static nested class, you're going to create an instance and you're going to access the private member. Okay. It's no different than any other, it's no different than any other class. Okay. Any class can access its private members from the static methods, right? That's how you can access it. But you cannot access it straight away like this. Okay. Because it's not a static context. It's not part of a static context, right? Otherwise we could have used it directly. So there is no special relationship how, um, though it is a different class, how inner classes were able to access the private member. There is no special relationship like that. It is already existing in the static context itself, so that's why it was able to access it. But the thing is, you are able to access it I like this here, right? Straight away if it is a static member. Um, but what I mean to say here is, go here, go to another class, um, test main little outside, and have a public static void main string alts here. So this is another class, right? It has nothing to do with this one. And what I want to show here is, test main outside test equals to new test main outside. But though it's outside, you cannot access that I. You see what I'm saying? Nested class, there is nothing special it is doing. It is just another static member, and it can able to access the private member through the outside class instance, just like a main method. No other special relationship. If you look at test inner and all these guys, you don't need to do any special thing. You can straight away access it without saying getting the outer instance and all that. That's the special relationship it does not have, was my point. when I say it cannot access it, it doesn't mean it's not completely not able to access it. It cannot access it like a original concept of inner class. Am I making sense, or you're totally confused now? Rini, are you
I'm
here?
clear.
Are you totally confused, or are you here with me?
Yes, confused, Ravi.
Totally confused?
Yes.
What
You
was the
said
confusion?
you were trying to say that if something which is declared outside as a static variable, we
Mm-hmm.
can access directly inside a class which is a defined public static void main, right?
Any static member of that class.
Yes, yes.
Right.
And but can use it as outside the public static void main. Means outside that class we can use that variable, right?
Outside that class, you cannot use that variable if it is marked as private. You were able to access it inside that class because it was part of that, yeah, like it is still part of that class, right? That's why I have written this. This way, in this public static void main, within test main outside, you were able to access I
Yes,
because private members are specific to only that class.
yes, right. But you have written private static. You have written that.
Yeah, static doesn't need an instance also.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, got it.
Static doesn't need an instance also. It's no different from static inner class or any other class.
Okay.
Static, if you say static, even it is not a nested class or anything, right? It's just another static method. There is no difference. You
Mm-hmm.
can access I just like that,
Mm-hmm.
like any method. But
Mm-hmm.
if you are outside here,
Mm-hmm.
you
You
don't see
need
it.
an yes.
You cannot access it. Okay.
Yes.
So what I'm
Yeah,
trying to
got.
say is these static nested class guys are not anything special than any other static method. Okay. Like
Okay.
any other static method is as good as a static nested class. The only thing is you're defining a class there. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But whereas test inner classes can actually access private members just like that. They don't need to do anything extra. They don't need to create an instance of it. They don't need to do anything extra to access the private members. Do you see that now? Do you see that? I know. Are you here, Rini?
Yes, Ravi. Yes.
Still confused?
No, no, no. It's fine.
Don't say just like that. But if you're confused, tell me. You may have a point that I'm missing. I can I can talk about it. Okay.
Mm.
So that's why this static. So this is what I'm trying to say. Because the nested class is static, it does not share any special relationship with an instance of an outer class. In phase, you don't need an instance of the outer class to instantiate a static nested class. Instantiating a static nested class requires using both the outer and nested classes. Okay, a static nested class cannot access non-static member of the outer class since it does not have an implicit reference to any outer class instance. Right? This was the point I was trying to make. Because it doesn't have any reference, it cannot access the private members directly unless it is marked as static, or we create an instance of the outer class and then access it. Right? Did I confuse all of you, or are you guys with me? Okay, so yeah, can you guys tell me that makes me comfortable? Are you guys okay or totally confused? Inner class is little tough, but static inner class should not be a problem. You guys should grab it quickly.
We are clear. Okay.
Okay. Let's talk about anonymous inner classes a little bit. Okay. Anonymous inner classes have no name, and their type must be either a subclass of the named type or an implementer of the named interface. Anonymous inner classes have no name at all. You don't declare like class something. And their type must be either a subclass of the named type or an implementer of the named interface. Subclass of the named type or an implementer of the named interface. Let's see that. An anonymous inner class is always created as a part of a statement. Don't forget to close the statement after the class. Okay, let me show that before I speak anything. Okay, anonymous inner class. How do you define that? You have a class here and you have a main method and we have food as a class. Within that, we have anonymous inner class as an instance. Okay, and how are we creating the instance? So that means if you see here, within the food class, we are creating an anonymous inner class one instance and defining the pop method. So that means we don't have a constructor that says like a public class anonymous inner class one, like public anonymous inner class one. There is no constructor like that, right? But what we are doing is without any constructor, we are actually creating a definition to the methods. That means everything is defined in here. So this new inner class itself, think about it like we are saying like a public anonymous inner class and we are giving the definition to it. So this is entirely class definition, means it has a pop method. You can invoke a pop method from it, something like that. So all we are doing here is food class. We are instantiating a food class, and to access anonymous instance we are saying food dot and dot pop. Okay, so we have a pop method here and also we have a pop method here, but which pop it is going to execute? This one. Do you guys agree? So that means we don't say anything like class definition at all. If it is too confusing to say this, let's see, let's talk about it like a little bit different way. I'll say like so all I'm trying to tweak is, can I give a different name? Because we cannot give a different name in here. I just tried a little bit differently. But what I'm trying to talk about, though you have a pop method here, this pop method gets executed. Let me see here. Yeah, this is the one that gets executed. But all we are trying to do is we are creating a, we're trying to access a anonymous inner one. We are giving the entire definition here. So whether we have it here or not doesn't matter. Why? It says the pop method is undefined in the type anonymous inner one. See here? I thought it doesn't matter if we define it outside or not. Why do we have to define it outside? Because food.an, let's see another variation. One more time, 1 second, sorry. So here, okay, this is what I'm interested in. So here you're defining an interface, good, and cookable, you're saying like new cookable, and you're giving the definition to that method. Oh, this is what I'm familiar with a lot. Okay, here is the thing. So you know what method that you want to give definition to, and you're not saying like cookable implements like some other class implements cookable. All you're trying to do is you're trying to instantiate that cookable and giving the definition to it here itself. Okay, so actually the anonymous concept is here. You'll appreciate it here than in this example. Here what we are trying to do is we are trying to anonymize a class that implements cookable. Okay, you're trying to anonymize a class that implements cookable and you're giving a definition to the interface, like a method that is available from cookable interface. Okay, if somebody asks you, can you actually instantiate an interface, uh, you cannot directly instantiate an interface. You have to instantiate a class that implements an interface. But anonymous inner class is a little variation where you don't implement an interface, but you can actually give the definitions to the methods of an interface by anonymizing the name of the class. Am I making sense to you guys?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the thing. Here, but in this example, yeah, that's the reason why we need to have a pop method here. The reason being, this is the pop method original behavior, and we are giving a new definition to it. And think about it like some other class extending anonymous inner one and giving a new behavior to the pop method. Okay, and if you don't say anything in here, still you can invoke it. All it is doing is creating an instance. Probably now popcorn gets executed. Yeah. Okay, so it's like you're anonymizing the subclass, okay, that is extending the superclass. That's the thing, you are anonymizing it. And if you have this behavior, it is actually showing the superclass reference, like superclass thing. Okay? Let's see here. Okay, it is same as what we see in inheritance, but only thing is subclass name is not defined separately. Like some other class extending a superclass is not defined. Okay. Okay, now we saw the anonymous inner class, and let's see read about it a little bit. Anonymous inner classes have no name, and their type must be either a subclass of the named type or an implementer of the named interface. Now it makes sense, right? So it is either extending something or implementing some interface. An anonymous inner class is always created as a part of a statement. This is the statement, right? It's all created like a one statement. That's why don't forget to close this. And this is a rare case in Java, a curly brace followed by a semicolon. Yeah. And then because of polymorphism, the only methods you can call on an anonymous inner class reference are those defined in the reference variable type class, even though the anonymous class is really a subclass or an implementer of a reference variable type. Are you guys following? Like even if you have another method called pop1, you cannot invoke that method. It doesn't show it. Okay, the reason being it's of type this one, right? There is no object type for this, so all you can invoke is the methods that are defined in the parent class, because this is the reference type of the parent class, not the reference type of the subclass. And we cannot even typecast it, right? Let's see, I want to do a little bit different. No, we cannot do that. Yeah, all I thought was let's give a different name and get a hold of object type. We cannot do that. We cannot invoke anything. Do you get it? Okay. An anonymous inner class can extend on a subclass or implement one interface. Okay. So unlike non-anonymous classes, an anonymous inner class cannot do both. In other words, it cannot both extend a class and implement an interface. Yeah, because it is just one statement and we don't even put extends or implements there. Nor can it implement more than one interface. It can implement only one interface. An argument local inner class is declared, defined, and automatically instantiated as a part of method invocation. All they are trying to say is if this entire definition is part of a method, okay, that means if I put it in a part of a method, then this is one argument, and subsequently uh, I have another argument like this, something like that. Okay. Let's see what it is saying. Syntax errors, constructor header name expected instead. Let me see. Oh, I need to do an and here probably. That's why it is correct. Let me see. Let me reread it. An argument local inner class is declared, defined, and automatically instantiated as a part of a method invocation. The key to remember is class is being defined. Okay. Let me see how else can I show it here. Uh, Anonymous inner class. Okay. Let's see what we had before. Okay, we had a pop method in here, which is okay. All we are trying to do here is public test void test. So let's see here. What does it say? Syntax error, annotation name expected after this token. Annotation name. What is the name? Oh, it's thinking of it like I have a new class that I'm defining it. Okay, that's fine. I will tell this later. I don't want to confuse you guys more. I'm doing my own experiments. That's okay. Okay, so what it is in a like if it is part of a inner class argument, like think about it like definition is being done. Like say for example, here it is one of those methods, right? Foo dot, it is same as get and, right? Like if I have public this one get like this is a member of this class anyways, right? So what I'm trying to say is say source generate getters and setters. So you have a get an. So what they're trying to say is, okay, when you invoke get an, and within get an you're referring to this guy, and method definition already is been completed. Okay, method definition is already been completed and you have created a class and you're returning a pop. That means it is local to this method, the instance creation. So I can put it this way. Okay, I can put it this way. So that's when it is local to a method definition. Okay, local to a method definition, and I can get a instance out of it and invoke the methods on top of it. So when you invoke this itself, everything is being done. Think of it like a definition is being done within the method instance. Or if you want to pass something, so what does it say here? Yeah, it has to be final. Okay, you can pass whatever you want. So you can pass whatever you want, and your object gets constructed and sets that value to pop method, and it produces it out. Okay. So an argument local inner class is declared, defined, and automatically instantiated as a part of method invocation. So within that, everything is done, and it is returning the instance out of it for us. Okay. Within a method argument, so the syntax will end the class definition with a curly brace followed by a closing parenthesis to the end the method call, followed by a semicolon to end the statement. So it is followed by a, so this is the method call and this is the class definition ending. Okay, and totally this is like an expression, right? Left hand, it has a left hand side and it has a right hand side, so we have to end it with a semicolon. Okay, so that completes anonymous inner classes. Any questions? Are you still confused with static nested classes? Are you guys here?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So what I would like to do is see where are we at. Okay. So idea is for end of week 2, we should be able to complete string buffer, inner classes, and everything. So are you guys meeting these objectives? Like now that we finished 2 weeks, are you guys able to answer any of these questions? Like all these objectives are being met, or are you guys falling behind? Yeah. Are you running the exercises and lab sessions at all? All of you running the exercises at all? Like our samples that we have?
I'm running the exercises.
Yeah. You were asking questions as well, which is good. Anybody else? Okay. So if you guys want to move forward today, I can start exceptions. But before that, I want to make sure you guys are meeting all these now that you can write some loops and everything. If you guys don't have any questions till now, I have few questions. Do you guys want to answer few questions that I have? I take it as yes. What is composition?